Afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, November 6, 2024 at 4 p.m. This is a meeting of the Acushnet Board of Selectmen. Is there a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting will be audio and video recorded. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Couple of executive sessions to start off with. We have executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to bargaining. Town accountant, United Steelworkers Assessor, Senior Clerk asked me if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and the board will return to public session at the conclusion of the executive session. An executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, police department second in command, and the chair so declares, and the board will return to public session at the conclusion of the executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Gasper?
Yes.
I'm a yes. You're in executive session. Motion to return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Gasper?
Yes.
I'm a yes. We are now in open session. All right, gentlemen, we are in new business here. We got a couple of resignation letters. You all have copies. I'm not going to read through these, but I will mention them. We have a letter of resignation from Conservation Commission member Everett Fila. Everett has served this town in great capacity for a very long time. I think he was a true asset, but I also understand that he wants to spend some more time relaxing. So is there a motion to accept Everett's letter of resignation with regret?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And good luck to Everett. And once again, we appreciate everything you've done for this town. We also have a letter of resignation. As you know, we now have a new town accountant, so our interim has offered a resignation. I am submitting this letter as formal notification of my resignation from my position as the interim town accountant. My last day with the town of Acushnet will be November 15th, 2024. Though I've thoroughly enjoyed my time working for the town and enjoyed working with such wonderful people, it's time for me to move on, especially with the hire of a new permanent town accountant. Thank you for the opportunity. I wish you all the best. Thank you, Judy. And is there a motion to accept a letter of resignation of the interim town accountant, Judith Mooney, with regret?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, I'm going to turn the school roof ban over to you so you can explain.
As you know, we have paid part of it off in the town meeting, and so this is to refinance the rest. It's $570,000. You have the information in front of you. There's a motion that has to be read. I provided the motion to you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Gasper.
Can you explain the amount, Mr. Kelly?
The 570.
Yeah. I know we've been paying roughly $63,000, right? And that was for the previous ban. But our responsibility is like 1.2. What was the total for the town side? Because the numbers don't match what I've seen.
All right.
Total amount of loan authorized, 2.57. We didn't borrow that much.
That's what that was the total amount of loan authorized. And it's my understanding that you had MSBA money that paid portion of it.
Roughly 52% of it.
And so that brought it down. Pay downs, the amount of this issue after all the pay downs, town treasurer collector has at 570. and it's just rolling it over to pay it out.
Was that given the 550 we just got approved at town meeting from the solar revenue fund?
Mhm.
So the remaining amount that we need to band is 570?
Correct, that's what the figures that came from Hilltop.
Unfortunately, the interest rate seems to be very high.
It's gone up from last year.
Huh?
It's gone up.
5.25% is pretty high for a municipality, don't you think?
It was 4.25 last year for
Hmm.
the band.
Does this need to be done today? ASAP, as most things are around here? Or is this something that we can hold off on for 2 weeks?
The authorization was for November 14th. We can have Hilltop redo the figures, but
That's all right, if we need to approve it tonight.
the date of issue is November 22nd. That's when the previous runs out.
So can we add this to the 19th?
No, because you just said the other dates past that, earlier than that.
So we'd have to have Hilltop redo it.
Okay.
Okay, it seemed, just didn't get to see any of the other paperwork as we've gone through the last couple of years, so whatever. This is what it is. Jennifer's already signed off on it, so.
All right.
You paid down the 550 then, Mr. Kelly, on that previous ban? Because I know the ban was good till November, right?
November
Last year.
22nd.
Last year, so we went to town meeting for 550 out of the solar revenue fund to
Right.
pay this off, so we're gonna go back on the taxpayers, right?
Right, and then,
And this 570 is what's left on the band, it's just reissuing the band, that's all this is, right?
right,
So this is 1 year, the band?
I believe it's 6 months. But let me look for sure. Back again.
Months.
November 22nd to
May 23rd to 2025.
Yeah. So that date's questionable because we don't have another opportunity to go to town meeting and read and do what we've just previously did, right? So we're gonna end up getting kicked in the face and we're gonna have to ban for another 6 months, but we don't have an opportunity because we might not make town meeting by the May 20-something date, get approval for a bigger package to pay this thing off. That's my problem with timeframes now.
Well, if you get town meeting before the 23rd of May.
If, remember that, what I've taught you about the word if, it's the biggest word in the dictionary. You know why, right?
Yeah.
I won't say it on camera. But if is a big word.
Where,
Problematic. And it's just be nice to get rid of this debt, right, and be able to figure that out. And if there's gonna be some free cash and some solar revenue available, I think we could just get it and kill it. Be done with that school roof. And this date puts us in jeopardy of having that done because of the ban expires May 20th or 23rd.
May 23rd.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Kelly. If we push this off, you could talk to Hilltop and see if they could rewrite this?
Yeah, well, the problem is the ban expires, the other ban expires
When?
November 22nd. The ban we're in now.
Oh, just let it
It's
do.
been 6 months, we've been rolling it every 6 months.
I know, but we've also never did what we just did. We were just paying the $63,000 in interest to stay up on the ban, right, and staying good on that commitment.
Why don't I, if you want to vote this and subject to information, and we should find out from Hilltop
Yeah.
if they not so much can not issue this ban, but at what point the expiration of
The
the
term,
next
right,
year.
the next term, right? So it's only a 6-month term. I mean, we can ask Hilltop if there's a such thing as a 7-month term, right?
Or midterm, we can kick it up 3 months, which I've done.
Well, we need town meeting to approval to expend money.
No, I've extended a ban midterm in a
Oh,
ban.
yeah, see what we could do. I mean, I'm fine with making a motion to, or you need a big motion,
Yeah.
right? You need all of this, Red?
Please.
I move on November 6, 2024, a meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Acushnet, Mass., of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present, that the following votes be taken. Vote, the Board of Selectmen hereby determines in accordance with General Law, Chapter 70B, that the cost of the Acushnet Elementary School partial roof replacement project authorized by vote of the town passed on November 14, 2020, Article 1, being financed with the proceeds of a portion of the notes defined below, together with all other bonds and notes of the town previously issued to pay costs of this project, does not exceed the portion of the total cost of the project that is not being paid by the school facilities grant, and the Board of Selectmen hereby approves the issuance of notes and bonds to finance this project under General Law, Chapter 70B. Further, the Board of Selectmen votes to approve the sale of $570,000, 5.25% general obligation bond anticipation notes, the notes of the town dated November 22nd, 2024, and payable May 23rd, 2025 to the Fidelity Capital Markets, a division of National Financial Services LLC, at par and accrued interest, if any, plus any premium due. Further, the Board of Selectmen votes that the town treasurer and the Board of Selectmen be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a significant events disclosure undertaken in compliance with the SEC Rule 15C-2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the notes for the benefit of the holders of the notes from time to time. Further, the Board of Selectmen votes to authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish a post-issuance federal tax compliant procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as town treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the notes and to comply with relevant security laws. Further, the Board of Selectmen votes that any certificates or documents relating to the notes, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one of the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document. And electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of documents and all matters relating thereto, having the same legal effect as original signatures. Further, the Board of Selectmen votes that each member of the Board of Selectmen, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute delivery of such certificates, receipts, and other documents as may be determined by them, or any of them, to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. Dated November 6, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right. I would just ask Mr. Kelly to check with bond counsel to
Yep.
see if there's a way, if there's anything that we could do to kick that date, give us a little bit more time in preparation for town meeting.
Agreed.
We remember what happened last year in town meeting? I had to kick that out to June 17th, right? So, that's the scary part. I'd like to get this debt paid off on behalf of the taxpayers of Acushnet.
Yep, absolutely. Next item, maintenance vehicle. Gentlemen, I put a sheet somewhere in your paperwork here that just shows what our red truck that maintenance has been using. It's getting to the point where things keep breaking and there's some rot that is making it very difficult to repair without extreme excess. Not necessarily asking for any votes today, but I would like you to look through that list and see it. And I just wanted to put it on the radar. I told Matt today that we're gonna try to get through plow season with it. And to get some extra ratchet straps just in case. But keep in mind, there might be a situation where we're gonna have to start looking for a maintenance vehicle because this one may not make it through the winter.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gasper?
In the past, I worked with Director of EMA, Jerry Bergeron. It was somewhere around 2018, and they needed a pickup truck as well, and I went with it because I was actually in the business of repair, auto repair and stuff, and we ended up buying a used vehicle for a very good price, an F-250 pickup, and we still have it today. I'm not so sure that we need a brand-new pickup truck.
100%.
And there's a webpage called municibid.com where anybody and everybody, including us in the private sector, could go on and bid on equipment, and it's from all municipalities throughout the United States. And I was on it today, zipping through some pages, and there's quite a few decent trucks out there that are up for bid. The $15,000 range.
Sure.
And, some have 60,000, some have 80,000, but I'm not saying that these are the ones that we're gonna go after,
Yeah.
but I think that that's something that the board should keep in mind, and instead of spending $60,000, which is a brand new pickup truck nowadays, even a single cab one's $50,000, right? For something that, it gets a lot of use, but it doesn't get a lot of use,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
And it doesn't put on a lot of miles, so I think that that's something that we need to look at and explore and keep our eyes open for.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't even thinking about a new vehicle at all. I mean, this truck's actually lasted quite a decent amount of time, so I agree. Finding something with decent mileage, my main concern is just do our due diligence, make sure it's not rotted, and find the best bang for the buck.
I think that truck that we got from maintenance now came from Board of Health, actually.
Okay.
I think that's where it came from, so, it is something. I've talked to Mr. Tripp. I've dealt with the young boys that were working for us in the summer youth program, and went and picked them up off the side of the road when the truck broke down, right?
Yep.
So it is something that we need to look at and address. Hopefully we'll make it through the winter season, but I'll keep my eyes open for
Check
something.
the sheriff's office too. Sometimes they have surplus stuff over the sheriff's
Yeah,
department.
so there's a few ways that we can go about, trying to get a good deal on something, right?
Yep.
Mr. Kelly, if that's the case and we were to find something that was a really good deal, would we necessarily have to go to town meeting and wait for town meeting, or could we just do something out of the reserve fund?
You could do it out of the reserve fund with your vote and the vote of the FinCom.
Very good. I'll keep my eyes placid.
Excellent. All right, last on the new business, notes on timekeeping and payroll policy. Gentlemen, we had talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is ultimately, if you guys have any notes on the policy that we discussed, please make the changes and give it to Jamie. I believe you are just waiting on our notes, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And then I forwarded for comment to council and the union.
Yep, perfect. All right, so he drafted this up. It is in your books. If you have any changes or anything like that, just forward them over to Jamie, and we'll get that punched through. All right. It is 5 PM. We have an appointment here, tax classification hearing. Let's see here. There's nothing else on there, right? All right. Is there a motion to open the tax classification hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, hello, everybody.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, guys.
Mr. Brown, how are you?
Very good, everybody. How are you? Good.
Just to open up, the Board of Assessors recommendation was voted on today, and their vote was for a 120 shift for FY 2025. So let me open up with classification hearing. Basically, this is the breakdown of what we're looking at for the levy limit or maximum allowable levy. The numbers I'm going to present today are of the, for better choice of words, worst scenario or highest taxable levy that we would have to warrant for fiscal 2025. So going over it, so the first one, levy base of $21,697,450 with a Prop 2.5 increase of the $542,436. New growth that is not estimated, that is actually certified at 190,822, and I'm going to stop there so I can break down the allocation of new growth by class. And that will be sorry about that. There. So, for new growth, for single family, the new growth value was $6,187,500. Vacant land, $304,500. Other residential classes, $58,000. Nothing in open space. Commercial, $508,700. Industrial, $641,300. Personal property, growth value, $6,038,615, for the total growth value of the town of $13,750,415, resulting in the $190,822. Then the debt exclusion I have estimated due to the fact that this data was not available to me through the recap as of yet, leaving the maximum allowable levy of the town at $22,858,743. Again, this is the breakdown of class and value by percentage for fiscal 2025. As in past years, the town of Acushnet predominantly is composed of residential properties, which is the 89%. The other three classes, commercial, industrial, personal property, make up the 10.9. To make the full 100, for the full value of the town, $2,020,518,851. So in this scenario, if we were going with a single tax rate with the maximum allowable levy of the $22,858,743, with the value of the town at the $2 billion plus, the single tax rate would be $11.31 per thousand. So basically, this just shows how the tax rate is actually calculated. You take the total levy, the total value of the town, and divide it, and that's how you get your single rate. Basically, classification is done for the fact of allocation of tax burden by classes. I mentioned this because in the town of Acushnet, as I mentioned before, the 89% of that tax levy or the tax value belongs to the residential class. By statute, the 150, as I write on this slide, is what's permissible. If any communities go above that, I believe it's by some type of special vote or option. That's never happened here. Then the next is the fiscal 2025 tax shift possibilities, the breakdown of the shared percentage of value by class, levy amounts by class, and then estimated tax rates. If we were to go with the 135 shift as was ratified in fiscal 24, the tax rates would differ by the fiscal 2024 ratified rate at 35%, $11.41 per thousand, would decrease to $10.83 per thousand, a 58-cent decrease, and the commercial, industrial, personal property rates would decrease from $16.13 per thousand to $15.27 per thousand, an 86-cent decrease per $1,000 value. This change in value in comparison is basically on average by class. For the residential class, it's an average of 9%, commercial class an average of 7%, industrial class an average of 8%, and personal property an average of 4%. And over here, I'm just giving comparisons of value. So for fiscal 2024, residential property that was valued at $371,800. With a 9% increase of value would have a taxable value of $408,700 with a difference of $36,900. And then with commercial, the scenario is the same. Value in 2024, $319,100. Actually, that should say 2025 on the second line. I apologize. For the 2025 value, $341,500 with a difference of $22,400 and a 7% change. In this scenario, I basically left a tandem comparison with the 35 rate, since that was the ratification of fiscal 2024. So this is looking at averages, not median values. So for fiscal 2024, the average single-family home is $427,900. So the single-family tax bill would be $11.41 per thousand, would have been $4,882.34. Now, if we were to use the same data with a 35% tax shift for fiscal 2025, the average single-family home value is now $471,732. So the average bill would be $5,108.86. Difference of value of $48,832 and a difference of annual taxes of $226.52. A percent increase of value of 11%. Now, as I mentioned before, it said 9%, but you got to keep in mind for the residential class in Acushnet, as it takes up about 89% of the value, there's a buffer of basically, for a better choice of words, margin of error for calculation. Now, the next slide is a comparison of commercial, as we are a split rate town or historically have been. Again, using the 135 for the tandem comparison. FY 2024, the average commercial real estate was $466,100. The average bill, $7,158.20. Using the same scenario for fiscal 2025 data, the value of $519,200 and the bill $7,928.19. Obviously, the value difference of $53,100 and the difference of annual tax of $769.99. I did something a little different this year with median values, as the median value usually is lesser than the average value, as median is middle. And since the class of the residential class is the largest class in town, the median value for a single-family home in fiscal 2024 was $391,700. That would make the tax bill $4,469.30. Again, using the same comparison for a median value. The median value for fiscal 2025 is now $463,800, making the median tax bill $5,022.95, with a difference of annual tax of $553.65. Again, that percent increase of 18%. When I gave the percent increase by class, it varies in percentage because we're looking at the whole class. We're not looking at one particular scenario of value. And again, for fiscal 2024 and 2025 for commercials, the commercial median value $459,800 with a median tax bill for 24 $7,416.57. And again, for the 35% shift for median values, you're only looking at basically a 7% decrease and a $97.79 increase of annual tax.
What was the last one, Kelly, that you showed with the?
That one?
Nope.
That one?
Commercial one?
This is commercial for average, not median. Big difference between average and median. Because again, it's a smaller class compared to a smaller number. You're talking allocation of...
On commercial, it's a smaller
Correct.
class.
Correct.
But not on residential.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And of course, that's all brought about when I go back to the slide that disperses the percent of value by class. Again, you're looking at the commercial class is only 2% of the $2 billion of value, where the residential is 89%. So that's why you see that shift of value. Per class, it's 9%, but if you look at one particular taxpayer, it's not all 9% across the board for increase. We saw in the example, I believe it was 11%, not the 9%. So that's what I have to present for you today, gentlemen. Do you have any questions for me? Again, I'm going to reiterate the Board of Assessors recommendation is the 120. And do you want to intervene and give the rationale?
If we have questions on why for that, but
Yes. If you'd like to know,
Mr. Gaff?
Mr. Brown can answer those questions for the rationale of their recommendation.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gasper?
So, it's kind of screwy how this works. So I have from fiscal 22 to fiscal 23, and then 23 to 24, now 24 to 25. And the median home price has escalated through
Substantially.
the roof, right?
Substantially.
No fault of yours or the assessors, I'm just,
No,
And
can
so
I just
it's-
give a background to that, Kevin, if you don't mind? Basically, everybody knows values are set by market, sales market. Sales.
that's all I want.
Willing sellers, willing buyers. They set the market, they set the trend. And what's happening now, in my opinion, if you look at the data, is the more modest homes are the ones seeing the biggest increase of value. And that's because they're more desirable and people are paying more money to get them because they can afford it for today's economy. If you look at the higher end homes, you're not seeing that big influx of change or value because you have less people or less of the population due to economy that can afford the higher end home. So that's what you see.
Okay, so we'll stick with that piece of the conversation because I can follow along pretty well with you, Kelly, because you and I have talked about this a number of times. Yeah,
Okay.
that's 100% correct. The problem with that philosophy that we keep using in municipalities is we're being fooled by the Federal Reserve, right? Manipulating interest rates, right? And that's all that this is a game of manipulating interest rates. Interest rates go up, people can't afford the big expensive homes. They brought interest rates down, people afforded the big interest rates, but that only stood so long. Now they're back to what I would say more normal interest rate environment, right? And it's exploded home values, right? And it's just a game of chicken is all this is, right? The more the Federal Reserve screws with interest rates, the more fluctuations people are gonna have in their tax bills, right? And it's an attack on them. So over the years, I always look, because the majority of our homes are set at the median single-family home price, so I always pay attention to that number. So if you look at fiscal year 22 to 23, the median home price went up 13%. If you look at 23 to 24, the median home price went up 18%. And now this year, the median home price has gone up 16%. So in 3 years, the people that can afford it the least have seen their values go up 47%, right? And the reason why I say that is it's all great. Everybody thinks, hey, great, my house is worth more money. I'm house rich, but that's not true, right? It's just a manipulation of finances, all it is, right? We can all know it. And for some reason, that class is getting slammed. And the majority of our people in that class, I would have to say, are lower income, median income people and seniors. And those are the exact people that are getting slammed on their tax bills. So I ran a scenario this year based on my value from last year, and I said, okay, so if it's up 16%, let me tag 16% onto my current value, right? Because I'm in that median home price thing. So I just did that, and based on that assumption, my tax bill was gonna go up $367 in 1 year, on top of what the increase was last year. And what I think is very unfair in this manipulation from the Federal Reserve, and I do bring up the Federal Reserve with manipulating interest rates, is because there are people out there. I did a study 2 years ago when everybody said go to 150 on the tax split, and I did a study and I looked at a bunch of different homes in the town because of the Patriot Properties. I could see all the previous assessments, and I ran a study. And what I think is very unfair is the people that are getting slammed, the median income people, they're seeing the biggest increases in their tax bills, right? And other people are seeing a decrease in their tax bills. I don't really see how there's any kind of equity there, right? I don't believe anybody's tax bill should go down in any fiscal year. Maybe it stays flat, but it would help if that person's tax bill didn't go down 200, the median income person wouldn't have to go up $350 or $400, right? So, and it's just these gyrations to make people feel good, and then the next year, that same class that went down got slaughtered the following year. And that was like the $500,000 range price of a home, right? Some people's tax bills went up over $1,000, even though the previous year went down 160. I mean, that's the kind of gyrations that I think there's got to be a better conversation on how this is all calculated. This has been the norm for I don't know how long, right? And it's just we're dependent on interest rates. The interest rate environment's dictating home values, right? And I think there should be a cap, quite honestly. I don't really think somebody's house should be able to go up in value more than 10%. Just call it 10% for right now, not just 16% 3 years in a row. It's out of control.
The problem is the value of their home does raise that much. The fact that they don't want to sell it or want to sell it is two different things, but the value does go up. Your fair market value is your fair market value, and they do rise by that. The houses that were worth $300,000 5 years ago are selling for $600,000. That is where it's at. So I don't take away from anything you're saying. It's all factual. It just really doesn't have anything to do with tax shift or any of that stuff.
I
It's
get
valuation
that, I'm trying to
and-
strike a different conversation though, right? It's more of, how do we get more equitable instead of seeing these gyrations where somebody's not paying as much this year in taxes and the other person's getting slaughtered? I don't know if there's any mechanism that's out there that a municipality can use where we just say, this is the maximum cap. And I think if we actually did that, instead of being dictated to by interest rates, or where some people are just willing to buy a house, you know, because they have two incomes, and they say, all right, so that shoebox is worth $500,000 to me, let me take it, right? And that's what's bringing the values up, right? I'm not saying everybody's smart in their home purchases. We've seen that happen in 2008, Mr. Brown, right?
I just want to say
The
one or two
financial
homes
crisis.
doesn't do this. It's not
No,
one
I
person saying that.
understand, but interest rate environment does, right? So when you have an interest rate environment that goes up, right? People can't afford the big expensive homes, so now they're gonna go and say, they're gonna bid up that 300. It's happening right now. I've seen it a million times. They bid up something that's on the market for 350 and it's going for 400, right? It's that mentality of whatever generation's going on right now, and whatever mentality people have in their heads, to just make it work by that number. We've seen this financial crisis before in 2008. The derivatives market blew up, right? And we're worse off now with home values than what we were in 2008. That tells me something's really wrong in the system.
No, that's why you have these ADUs being pushed down your throat, because nobody can afford to live. So,
I get it.
with you on all that.
I'm just-
Again, the classification is a different
What would
subject.
be, all I'm trying to do is strike a different, everything's, we've been doing the same thing year over year, Bob, I get that, but I'm just trying to think outside the box and say, is there a different way we could do it to normalize tax bills instead of having these massive gyrations? And I just named the categories that were hurting the most, right? The town spends $1 million, $1.5 million. That money's gonna be made up here in that tax shift and that tax rate, right? And who's facing the biggest burden? The people that can at least afford it the most. That's my problem.
Again,
It's not so much about who's buying my house for $450,000 or $500,000. It's about the people that have paid for their house, and technically, maybe they don't have mortgages anymore, but they just can't afford to see these kind of $300, $400 increases on their tax bills anymore. That's the unfortunate part, right? We've had this conversation before, you and I in private. People are making decisions on groceries or medicine. And here we go, we're gonna slam you with a $350, $400 tax bill.
May I interject? In regards to taxation, we have to realize the budget of the town, not all of it is taxation. So if the other side, in some way, increased, obviously what they'd have to make up in taxes would decrease, which would have the domino effect of lessening the burden. I don't know if there are other possibilities where the miscellaneous receipts or other sources of income can be used to take away from the tax levy to get that bottom line for what the operational budget of the town needs to be. That's another scenario. I don't know if that's out there or if there are things that can be done to increase that side.
We did go through that exercise this past year for the budget, right? We did
Okay.
raise revenues in certain
Okay,
lines on the recap sheet,
Okay.
okay? Just to balance a budget because of the insanity that we were at, right?
okay.
The problem with that is if the state aid came in more, that would reduce the amount that we have to
Correct.
put, right? The problem with that equation is the state is really just saying, we don't really care about that anymore. We're gonna get you further down. So they're gonna put more of a burden on our taxpayers. It's not gonna go in our favor, and they're gonna go, oh, here's another $1 million. They're trying to go the other way on us, right? Nobody wants to say that publicly except for me. And I have no problem saying it about the state, which way they're going.
Well, the
They're taking
town-
away aid, so the more aid they take away, the more we pay in taxation.
Well, that's why you see all of the communities getting a little bit more innovative with the town of Acushnet accepted a meals tax. That will help on the revenue side once those monies start coming in. I mean, a lot of the communities are making money on the receipt side for the cannabis. Other ways of revenue to help the taxpayer. I'm not saying to propose that here, but there are other ways.
Cannabis has backfired on a lot of municipalities.
I'm
though.
just throwing out there scenarios.
I know, but it was
that's
great when
all.
it first came out, right? And then so they budgeted for that revenue that they were getting in cannabis, and now the state's turned around and said, no. We're getting that money now, you're not getting it. So
Right.
imagine what's happening in those communities that did
Correct.
that stuff, right?
Correct.
It was a great short-term solution, but it's not a long-term solution, right?
Correct.
I'm trying to, if the budget's gonna go up, which the budget has gone up roughly $1.5 million year over year, right? What I'm trying to do is figure out a better mousetrap. If there's another way that we could do it and be acceptable by DOR, we figure that out and say, how do we normalize so that we're not having those massive gyrations on certain classes of people, right?
I know the town is moving forward for a master plan. Are they going to consider growth in other classes, commercial, industrial classes? Again, that would take that percentage of what needs to be, value of the town, lessening residential and giving it to the other classes by value. So the shifts would happen accordingly as well.
It would
Just
take
just
a lot of money in
it's a-
commercial real
correct.
estate. You and I have done that math too, Kelly,
It
right?
does, it
It would
does.
take massive amounts, hundreds of millions of dollars in commercial real estate to even dent the tax rate for the residents. So we all know that that's not gonna happen. Nowhere, no time soon. Hundreds of millions of dollars in commercial just to get the tax rate down a quarter.
On that,
Just
that's
brainstorming.
why, as a classification hearing, that this is, the split rate doesn't do that much. It only really whacks one side while helping the other side by peanuts, because of, this town is 90% residents. So to shift burden off the residents, you've got to shift a ton to make a difference. That's why it doesn't make sense. And the more you do it, the more, like we said last year, you just can't come back from that, because now you're shifting it worse. So if you keep climbing up every year, then you get to the 150, then you end up doing what New Bedford does and go to the state and say, hey, can we double that? And you do that. The businesses just are out of here. And your businesses support your town. You know, the businesses are here for the townspeople. They wouldn't be here without, you
You're
know.
preaching
so-
to the choir, because I'm the one that stopped it from going to 150 that year,
Yeah,
2 years
so-
ago, right? And
Just-
we went to 135, and then I got criticized for leaving $120,000, $110,000 in excess levy capacity to lower the rate again 7 cents, right? So that helped us on the shift differential by doing that, and I took some heat for doing that, but I was really trying to do it for both business and residential taxpayers.
We can
Right.
only save the taxpayers money as long as we're still paying the bills. You know, that's the sad part, is we all want, I mean, I pay over 15 grand a year in taxes in this town. We all want it to go down, but the bills are the bills.
I just don't want it to have such, I think we're missing the moral of the story. What I'm trying to get to is, I just don't want people to get slaughtered year after year, and this median, single-family home is the one that's gone slaughtered in the last 3 years, right? They're getting hammered, right? And I'm just trying to figure out a way to prevent the massive gyrations, right? And more like even out the slope. We all know the slope is gonna go, right, higher on the right than the left, right? It's going this way. What I'm trying to do is bend that curve and flatten that curve out so it ain't such a dramatic increase, especially for our seniors and our lower income people, right? Because they're gonna get knocked out of their homes. And I don't think that's the solution either, right? They're all basically living paycheck to paycheck, right? We see that statistic all the time. 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck,
I
right?
agree with everything you say, and I think you can agree with me that shifting the tax doesn't change any of that. To shift another 5% or minus 5% or whatnot, it's pennies on the dollar. It doesn't, the problem is we're spending more, and taxes go up by 3.5% every year, and
So going with the 120 that you recommended, I hurry up and I did my value again. I said I was going up $367. Now it goes up another $80 of $445, right? Instead of that 370. So there I am getting slammed again. So-
I think the only, again, reason the assessors, and, you know, this meeting is fresh in my head from 45 minutes ago, is so that you have somewhere to go. You know, as you said, it was worse a couple of years ago, and if it gets worse again and you have to shift it again, at least you can make a dent. Right now, with the rate dropping down, it's to lower it a little bit, gives you a place to go. And I'm not against the 135, I'm just saying, if you go down, you got a place to climb. If you don't, you don't.
That's why we did it a couple of years ago, right? That was my rationale a couple of years ago, but I didn't put too much effort into going through too many of the numbers that Mrs. Costa has given us, for the simple fact that we can't do anything tonight, right? Because our balance sheet hasn't been posted at DOR, and it was due September 30th. So the town's in a real jam right now with that scenario, okay? We can't do anything right now. We can look at it, but we can't set tax rate, right, or shift. So they both coincide with each other, right? We set shift, it determines rate. If we do rate, it's basically telling you what shift we want, right? We can't do any of that right now, because even if we did, we can't send out tax bills because our balance sheet hasn't been posted to DOR and approved and certified, right?
That's correct.
So we're in a bad spot right now as a town, and we're trying to manage our way through that bad spot as best we can with what we've been given. So we're waiting to see when our balance sheet will be posted. We're working on that problem right now, and hopefully we'll have an answer in a couple of weeks, hopefully. That's what I push for. Hurry up and get it done. It should have been done 2 months ago, to be honest with you. But it wasn't, so here we are. And that's not good news for our taxpayers either, right? Because if you don't get any of this done, tax bills aren't going out January 1st, that's a problem.
It's not just a problem for the taxpayer, the town, again, the collection of how the monies would be received, if we went to the worst scenario of a pro forma recap, would change dramatically as well. All the deadlines would move up. The collection time of the taxpayer would give more of a buffer because it's another estimated bill, things of that nature.
I know, I get it. I don't like where we're at. But we're there now, so we're trying to figure it out.
And again, just want to reiterate, this scenario is based on the maximum levy. This would probably not be the levy that would be requested to be certified by the state, because again, the number can be manipulated and then be excess levy capacity, as Kevin said, and things of that nature. This is the worst scenario, basically, that I'm giving right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you guys very much.
So, with that being said, obviously it's going to be continued until the recap or more information is available with more definite data from the recap. Is that correct in my assumption?
Correct.
Okay.
It's the only way it can be done, right?
Oh, I understand that.
So the balance sheet needs to be done, and then the Schedule A needs to be done.
Correct.
It's a two-pronged approach for finance, right?
Correct.
And neither one of them been done. I'll leave you with that.
Okay. I'm going to,
Dates, yeah.
does anyone want to see the show anymore? Because I'm going to come off. And my wallpaper is my cat and dog, so I don't want to share that.
December 3rd is a Tuesday.
Yeah, after our conversation earlier, I think it's probably the soonest we can do it without.
You may have to,
It doesn't have to be determined today, or does it?
Yes, it does. So you have to,
Yes.
a public hearing needs to be continued
For
to
the
a date and time certain.
Yes.
So that's exactly what we're gonna try to figure out now, and even if we continue to a date and time certain, say we did it in 2 weeks,
Yep.
we're not ready, we just continue it again to another date and time certain, right?
Excellent.
That's the only way that it'll work for us, Kel, right? You've done your part, and the assessors have done their part.
It's fine.
Now
I
it's
wasn't
time,
sure
now it's
how
time for
long.
finance to do their part.
Okay.
And thank you for doing your part too, Kelly.
Oh, thank you.
Is anybody from the public?
That's why I get paid. For doing my part.
Great work.
Thank you.
So I don't know what the pleasure of the board and based on what we already know, what we've already discussed, Mr. Chairman, it doesn't make sense to try to say we can get it back in November.
Correct.
So December 3rd is the reason why I looked at the first Tuesday in December and said, maybe that's the date we go to.
Okay.
And we're cutting things close, but we'll see where we're at.
Yep. I'd say that's good.
I'll be quite frank in regards to the timeline of the recap. I mean, in the worst scenario, a certified tax rate in order for me to do my process of the billing and the treasurer collector to do theirs. The dead heat last would probably be December 17th or 18th.
We did that one year.
Yeah, and it needs to be, no, a certified tax rate.
Right.
That means submission maybe the week before, in case there's any quirks that the DOR needs to iron out. But that leaves a very little window of opportunity, because the process is done in-house, only the actual bills are outsourced to be printed. So that can be a very tedious, laborious task if not given the right time. And if something goes awry,
Yep.
that too. So
I could follow, to be honest with you, Kelly, I mean, knowing what I know at this point of stage of the game, I can honestly say that it might be a possibility where tax bills are going out 2 weeks late.
they can't by law, they have to be postmarked December 31st.
Alrighty then.
The actual bills have to, but that's the law. We're a quarterly town. We have to have actual bills with a tax rate of the year that we're in, bill dated by December 31st, 2024.
Thanks for letting me know that, because now that's even a bigger problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's why the issue of pro forma is being discussed, hopefully not even entertained, is because of the timeline.
We got some work to do, Kelly.
Yep.
To be continued.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here on Christmas Eve.
No.
I mean, I would if I had to be, trying to get this done, hopefully. I mean, we have to do what we have to do, but that's the timeline we're up against.
We're gonna do our best to try to make this a little smoother, and, we've had some good conversations
Good.
between all of us, going back and forth through Mr. Kelly, and I think we got a decent process in place now, which should streamline things.
Good.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think we got a plan and an outline to do it now. So we're just gonna bust our butts and get it done and do everything we can. And like Mr. Gasper said earlier, you did your job, the assessors did their job, and we thank you for that. And now it's our turn.
We'll see what happens. Thank you
Thank you,
very
gentlemen.
much,
Good evening.
everybody.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, is there a motion to continue the tax classification hearing to December 3rd, a Tuesday, at 5 PM in the Selectmen meeting room?
So, second?
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
I'm Mr. McNamara.
It's few staff that are not,
Selectmen's announcements.
with staff members, but the staff that
I just want to reach out to the town clerk's office and all our election workers for yesterday's effort and all the early voting that they put up with. And we had a lot of people, a lot of turnout. They did a great job. So to Pam LeBoni, our town clerk, and all our election workers, thank you very much for all the effort that you put in yesterday for election day. Everything went very smoothly. So great job, folks.
Agreed.
Yeah, I won't get into the politics, but I do want to recognize one of our own, Jesse St. Gilles from Acushnet, ran for state rep. While he didn't cross the finish line, really represented the town of Acushnet well. I was very proud to see that. Great turnout, and he handled himself like a pro.
Yep.
And great job, Jesse.
Great. I just want to mention, just as a reminder, we have a Veterans Day Parade this upcoming Saturday. Kicks off from Russell Street. We're meeting at 9:30, and we will be marching to Cook Park by 10. And I just want to say thanks again to Brad Fish and everybody that's helping him put this together. Brad hit the ground running when he came to this town, and I have nothing but great things to say about him, along with a lot of the feedback I'm getting from the veterans. I don't think we've had a Veterans Day Parade in a while, so this is nice to see come back, and I'm looking forward to it.
Haven't had a Veterans Day parade for decades.
I believe my dad said the last one he remembers was in 1978 because he was in it.
Okay. I was 9 years old. So, great stuff, but
Yep.
Brad's done a phenomenal
He
job.
has.
He really has.
Right. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 19th, right in this meeting room here. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.